My hat! All right, so we're going to get started with the body. We have to cut everything up. Now, you can use your heat gun and then something like this to cut the Lexan. You just carefully go over it. I mean, you could even use your soldering iron tip. But, you know, as fun as the smell of burnt plastic is, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to use body scissors, so these Lexan scissors. Now, I have two of them here. These are for straight cutting, and these are for curves. So I'm going to be using both of them. Now, you are going to end up with 4 pieces for the body. The main cab, the bumper, the rear part of the cab, and then the underneath of the tractor here. So this will be fun. First, I'm going to begin with splitting this up into 3 components. Now, one of the nice things about the Lexan here is you don't have to guess where you have to cut. So if you look at the instructions, it tells you where. Well, if you look at the body, it has the lines there for you. Right? That's the line. It's this line here that you would follow right to here. Now, I'm not actually going to cut the lines. I just want to separate the 3 pieces. So I'm just going to cut along here and then along here, just to separate all 3 pieces. And then I'm going to start with the rear, the bumper, and the front of the cab. So because I'm just going to be doing these straight cuts, I'm just going to grab these Lexan scissors. There we go. And I'm just going to cut straight. And as I'm cutting straight, I'm actually cutting along this line right over here. So I am not following I am following this line right here. So let me just show you. So there's a little curve. You can see the curve. This is the line that you're cutting. You're cutting through here, and then you would cut in here, but I'm just going to continue cutting straight, and then I'm going to grab that line and follow that line. So here the challenge is that the Lexan is actually creating a lot of pressure and friction. So I'm trying to split the Lexan with my fingers so that I can move my scissors freely. And then once you get to this round part, you almost have to cut into the round as you're doing it. All right. So that is there. And originally I was going to go straight through, but I think it might be easier for me to just start on the other side. So again, I am following, there's a line here. I'm following this line next to that little curve. Always mind your fingers. I mean, last thing you want is to lose a finger and be down to 11. And it's all right if you cut too little, because you can always cut a little more after that. The bad part is when you cut too much. And now I'm actually just lifting on the Lexan slightly. So this is sitting, and I'm just lifting a little on this back part. And now I'm going to do that straight cut that I wanted to do. Whenever you put your hands like this in front of scissors, be very, very careful not to accidentally run your scissors into your hands. That's why I'm splitting my fingers. In case I do run the scissors through, I won't hit my fingers. It's this part here, this is the tough part. And you could just start over here and go this way. I mean, if you can go past halfway this side, you can go past halfway the other side. I'm just being stubborn. And it's not just that I'm being stubborn, it's just if you continue a cut, you're going to get a more consistent cut. And that's the reason why I insist on doing it that way. So I will have to trim just a little bit off here and here, and then I need to trim this off, but I'll worry about that later. Right now, my biggest concern is to separate these two pieces. And these two pieces, if you look at these, this here, let's see, on the bumper, you are going to be cutting here. Can't really tell. So there's two lines, 1, 2. You want to be cutting here. And then you're going to follow it here. And then underneath. So it's easier if you just cut kind of wide over here and then over here. That way you make sure you don't accidentally cut off a part you did not want to cut off. Especially over here, because you're going to need that little tab for when you're taping parts of the body on. So I'm just going to follow this line right here, and I'm going to cut through. Once I get to here, I'm just going to cut here straight. Right, this time I will turn it around. So the Lexan is pretty thin over here where it stretches. It's quite thick over here. There we go. We have our 3 pieces. Right, now we're going to start with the rear part of the cab. And for the rear part of the cab, we have to cut out this little rectangle here, which I will do at some point. And we have to cut all along these lines. So we have the lines there. And let's go ahead and get started. I'm actually just going to cut somewhere over here, just to remove material. I'm trying to get to that side so that I can actually do this line first. And I've actually changed my mind. I'm going to try to make it to here because I need these little flaps. So I'll try to make it to here, then I'll cut a straight line across. And I'll just remove material little by little. Alright, and that's it. So I have this line. This is just to finish going the other way. So I'm going to remove more material. Alright. There we go. let's do straight as possible through here. And there we go. And this here you don't need, so just recycle that. So now what we have to do is we have to cut this in here and then come down this line. And I should be able to just use the straight scissors, to be honest. Well, actually I have to go all the way up here according to the picture, so I may want to use the rounded scissors there. But even the straight scissors, as you cut slowly, you just turn and you'll be able to make a round cut. The other scissors make it so much easier though. Alright. I'm going to stop here at this line, even though I have to cut all the way around over here. And I'm going to cut across. And the only reason why I'm doing this is sometimes removing material makes it easier. Alright. And there we go. So that part there, now I just need to remove this little piece right here. Alright, so now I can start cutting them, and let's see. Before I use those curved scissors, I'll go ahead and use them now. Now I'm back to the straight scissors. And always be careful with your hands. I'll get there. I'm going to put the curved scissors there, try to follow that cut. There we go. The cut's actually really nice. What you're looking at that looks messy is the protective film on the Lexan that gets stretched, cut, warped. That is it. I just need to do a little more trimming so it looks nicer. And then I have to trim this off now. Now on the top, do I need the tab? I do need this tab. Alright, so I'm going to have to cut straight here because I need this little tab. So I'm back to the straight scissors. I'm actually going to start over here. I do have to remove this piece of material, but I'll do that later. It's just easier if I cut this off and then I go in here and then here than if I try going that way. Alright. Once I get to that part, then I can make my cut over here. And that's it. Now I can make my clean straight cut here. And let's do this. Just turning it. And now I get to cut this part. There we go. finish this over here. There we go. Perfect. Let's see, what else do I need to trim? These little tabs here. All right. We'll go here. And then here. And that's it. So we've cut those little tabs off. We still have these on because we need them, but those are off. And then we have this little tab here, and this is cut out. So we are good to go there. Now we can set this one aside and do the other one. All right, now let's move on to the bumper. So the bumper, the first thing I'm going to do is remove this material here. And for the bumper, there's actually quite a bit that we have to remove. There's a lot of lines, so I'm just going to do my straight lines first here on the sides. So I just did that, and I'm going to do this other side, do the straight line. And yes, I'm cutting more than I have to. I'm doing that on purpose. It just makes it easier to fold the Lexan. To be honest, I could just cut that flap off. You don't need it. Now I'm going to use the curved scissors for this, and I'm going to follow the curve. So I'm going to start my cut this way, and then rotate the scissors, and follow the cut this way. All right, once I get to about there, halfway, right, that little tangent, I'm going to go ahead and rotate the scissors. I'm going to continue the cut the other way. And that's about as far as I have to go. From here on, I can use the straight scissors. But I'm going to go ahead and do this side now. So again, I'm going to start off this way and then flip the scissors over. All right, I'll flip this. And let's start. There. That's as far. Now, I don't actually want to finish snapping the scissors in any one point because generally it leaves a mark on the Lexan. That's why you want to stop before you close your scissors completely. Here, I'll show you. All right, you may not be able to tell actually now that I realize, but there's a crease, small little crease that was left there behind where I ended my cut. So if you do that, you're going to end up creasing the Lexan versus doing this, you're not going to crease the Lexan. All right. There we go. Now this is a tricky one because you have to go in and then come down and then cut across. So I'm just going to get close, really close. And now I'm actually going to trim this piece off. I'm actually just going to go in here, trim that off. So that's all I did. It makes it easier to cut. I'm going to do the other side. And again, I'm just going to cut through and remove this part here. All right. Looking good. Now at this point, I'm not going to follow this cut. I'm actually going to cut under here where I need this straight line, and then I'll trim those little pieces. So I'm going to start back here. And I'm just following the lines. And the lines are very well marked on these bodies. So they're very easy to follow. And you're going to have these little nubs. Just trim them off. That's it. And you can try rounding it off. You can file it off. I'm just going to use the scissors to round it off a little. And that's it. So now, at this point, all I have to do is just clean this line up. Let's see. How much do I want to clean off? All right, according to the instructions, I actually want to take all of this material off. All of it comes off. All right, so I'm going to use the straight cutting scissors, and I'm just going to cut along this line. All right, good. Now I need to cut down, over, and then down like this. Right? So here we go. Let me do the other side. So here, as I cut, I'm going to rotate. I'm actually flipping the scissors like this. So from here, I'm going to this position, and then I'm going to rotate as I cut, just to get that little portion there. And just be patient, do it slowly. All right, there we go. Cut there, and I'm actually cutting at an angle here. I'm going to go here, do this, and then I'm going to come back and cut that. As always, mind your fingers. Actually, I'm going to do the same thing over here. Remove this piece of material. And now I'm going to come back here. So sometimes it's just easier to remove material, cut little triangles out, and then come back and do a clean cut. All right, let's go and trim it. all the way through. Let's go ahead and finish this off. Right, so come close. Right, now I can start working on my straight cuts. Well, first let's do this. So I'll cut down to there, and now I'll start here and go this way. All right, just a little bit of trimming over here. All right, and that is off. Good. Be very careful when you're running your fingers through here. You can cut yourself. It's similar to a paper cut, but with Lexan, it doesn't really matter what you cut yourself with. It's not fun. All right, and that's it. That's the front bumper. So all we have now is the main part of the cab. For the main part of the cab, we're going to be cutting this line here and here. We're going to leave that little tab. This here is going to be the challenge because you have another tab here that you have to leave. Then once you get over here, you're actually cutting this whole thing out and then coming down, doing it all over again. So here, I'm not going to worry about that curve yet. I'm actually just going to just cut through. And I want that little tab on. So I'm going to start going down. And then once I get to that line, I straighten out. And then I just keep cutting. Now the Lexan down here is a lot thinner. This is where it stretches. It's a lot thicker up here. So it's going to be easier for you to cut and run your scissors quickly down at the bottom. See? All right. So now I'm going to do the same thing with this other side. Now, don't discard your entire Lexan pieces because you're going to need a little bit of Lexan to cut for your mirrors later on. But for now, I'm just putting everything away. So just keep that in mind. You will not be discarding every piece of Lexan that you cut off. Now let's start with the trimming. So I'm going to keep the small tabs. There we go. There we go. Just lifting that little tab. I'm sticking my scissors in there. The little tab is off. I'm just going to go from the other side just so I finish trimming it. And that is it. All right. So I'm folding this flap inward, and I'm going to cut here going straight this way. Just a small little piece I have to trim off. All right. So now I'm going to cut this piece. And I want to go to here. All right. All right. There we go. And this is the tab that needs to come off. All right. Well, let's see. So now I just need to cut the wheel wells. Use the rounded scissors. And that's one. Go to the other side. And there's the other side. So the cab is now trimmed, and now I'm going to just bring the components together. And oh, actually I missed this rear part. So this sits here. Actually, it sits all the way here. So I still need to trim everything up to this line and this line. Well, it's over here. It's this line over here, and then I go in, and it's this line inside. It's actually interesting. This lines up differently. Well, let's look at the bumper. So I'm just going to go here. All right. Oh. There's the tab. All right. That looks like it's going to fit well. All right. So the only thing we have to do is finish this one off. So here, there's a partial line from here to here, and then there's a complete line. If I look at the picture, I'm supposed to follow this on the outside, but the line doesn't continue. So I am just going to be taking a guess on where that should go. And to be honest, it's not even that line. So if you look at this here, where to trim, on the actual body, there's a full line, this one. Then there's a partial line. There's a line that goes about halfway into here. But according to this, I have to cut all the way back here. So I think my cut here is correct. It's just this part I have to trim out. So let me just place this here and try to see where I should cut. All right. So this is the decision that I've made. There's a line here. You can probably see it. I have to change the angle. There's a line here. There's a line here. There is no line over here. But if you look at these, I'm just going to cut right where they end and then just in here. And this is the thick part of the Lexan, which will make it a bit of a challenge. All right. Yep. That is the tougher part of the Lexan. And there we go. All right. Again, you can use a hot knife and just run it through. I'm just going to use scissors. And all I'm doing is I'm placing them this way to initiate the cut. And then I'm going to bring them and make them perpendicular. This is where you really want to be careful. Well, you want to be really careful everywhere, but especially here. All right. So I'm taking it slow. I could go faster, I just don't want to because I don't want to run the risk of running the scissors into my hand. That's the only reason why. There we go. And I mean, this is really thick compared to the bottom. All right, let's go ahead and present this. All right, so this would be taped here. Oh, see, there's the continuation of the line. So I did well. I did well. And let's look at the final image. All right, so there is, oh, I see, this actually sits inside. So that actually sits inside. So this is complete. This will go here, sits inside of this. Oh, I see. I see. I do have to cut more. Just a bit more. Maybe not. Let me see. Ah. Yes, I have to cut more. All right. I see. This goes all the way inside. All right. Perfect. Okay, so I got it. So if you look at this line, on the side of your body, there's going to be a line that you can barely see in the camera. This goes all the way here. It kind of follows this, and then it goes all the way to here. All right. This flap stays, but this whole part up to this line, that comes off. And the reason why is this is going to attach inside like this. That's the reason why. So let me go ahead and trim that out. Perfect. I wish the instructions were better. All right, let's go. Now I'm going to do the same thing. Slide the scissors in. Tilt them like this. I'm going to start straightening them out. And perpendicular, now I can cut. I'm going to follow the line. All right. That lines up. All right, so that partial line that I was talking about, that's actually to help you line this up. So you're sticking this in there. But that is it. All right, so once we attach these, it will look like that. There we go. It'll look like that. That's what the cab's going to look like. All right, good. So now at this point, I'm just going to finish up some trimming right along here just to neaten it up on these pieces. And then I'm going to soak them up, wash them. The only thing that we have left now is this piece over here. And this is the bottom piece of the tractor. So all right, perfect. Let's get started. So let's see. I'm just going to start a cut here, and the reason why I'm going to start a cut here, one, you may want to save this Lexan here, these big pieces, for your mirrors. So just save a large area for your mirrors. You're going to need it. So I don't want to damage that. So I'm just going to go in here, and I'm actually going to cut through up here because I want a line. And right now, I'm just going to trim off all of this here, all this skirt area. And this is thinner plastic. Be very, very careful because your scissors really want to just run and take off. So far, I think the most difficult part to cut out has actually been the main part of the cab. All right. Just following the line. Here on this part, you have to push the scissors this way as you're cutting because your scissors want to ride up because of the angle here near this section of the body. So keep that in mind. If not, you're going to end up accidentally cutting up into the body. All right. So again, my goal is just to remove all of this plastic at the skirt. There we go. All right. So here, I'm going to have to cut inside, come up, go through there, round, go up, and do this. So I'm actually just going to finish the cut, do a straight cut all through. There we go. Skirt's off. Again, as safe as plastic, you may end up cutting your mirrors out of it. All right. Now I just need to make these little cuts here. I want to make a cut here, here. So I'm going to do all the vertical cuts. And let's see, and this has to go. Pull line here. All right. Let's do another vertical cut. So everywhere I see an angle, I'm just doing a vertical cut. And the plastic here, the Lexan, is very, very thin. So just be careful. All right. Now I can start trimming the rest. So I'm going to lift this up just so I can fit the scissors. There we go. Now I'm just going to cut this other side now. And this would just be a straight cut. And that's it. So let's do this other side. And that's it. So we've done the skirt. There is going to be a little bit of trimming that we're going to have to do, especially here on the front end. Not a big deal, but right now I want to cut out all of these parts here. All right. Let's see. So I've been standing this whole time, so I have to move to make myself comfortable. Now you don't have to use curved scissors for this. You can use the straight scissors. Just the curved ones are a lot easier. The only thing with the curved scissors are you have to go, your circles are going to go left. So in other words, counterclockwise. There we go. And then I'll trim those little corners later. So if you have not invested in these curved scissors, I would recommend you do so. I'm not particular to any brand. I just happen to buy a set of 2, and these are by Dynamite. Cannot remember the cost. They're pretty inexpensive, under $20 for both, I believe. All right, there we go. There we go. All right, so all that is left is just this little trimming, and you can use the straight scissors for that. And as you cut, you're just turning them. These little sharp edges, they kind of hurt when you get poked, so definitely want to trim them. There we go. So I'm just rounding them off, that's all I'm doing. Now we just have this side. All right, and let's see, I'll trim the rear back here just a little. See, sometimes you can feel the creases in the Lexan from the molding, so that's what I'm removing. All right, let's trim this. Oh, I have a little excess material here as well. So at this point, the only thing that you're doing is you're going through and just cleaning up the body. Again, you really want to be careful with this back portion. This is very, very thin. I just need to trim the front. All right, so we're just finishing this up. And we're almost there. Let's see. All right, and we're ready to go. So now there are a few steps that you have to take before you start prepping it, and that is that you want to make all the holes. So there's going to be a few holes that you're going to have to do to the body. You can do them now, or you can do them later. Some of them are already marked, so I'm going to go ahead and ream these two holes. These are going to be for the body post. So for this, just use a body reamer. It's a lot easier than using a bit driver, and the holes are already marked. So body reamers, they cut going right, so clockwise. That's one. And That is 2. Actually, there's numbers here. I can cut them to size. I believe it's about 6.5 millimeters that you want for the body post. If not, I can always ream it a little more later. Alright, that's good. And then in the rear, you've got 2 there. And then I believe you're going to have to ream some for the 5th wheel as well. Let's see. Alright, these are for the body post. So we want to go that much. And then this one. Right, so we have the 4 for our body post, and now at this point, the reaming that we have to do some reaming for the mirrors. So if you look at the cab's going to have 2 little dots. Now these are for the mirrors, so these are going to be quite small. Don't ream too much. I'm barely going to make some holes. And really it's just so I can see where the mirrors go. If I need to ream later on a little more, I will. And okay, there we go. So we've got the 2 for the mirrors. Let me just make sure there's no other holes that we have to do. Let's see, the 5th wheel is actually going to attach to this based on the picture. Right, there are 2 small holes that will go here, and this is where the 5th wheel actually attaches. So I'm going to go ahead and just ream 2 small little holes. Just small holes. If you need to make them larger later on. Do not make a hole too big because then you'll have a problem. Although it's not a big deal. If you make a hole that's too big, all you do is you just cut out a piece of Lexan, make a hole in there, and then you use it as a washer. But that is it. So the holes, 2 and 2. These are for the body post. They're about 6.5, and then do 2 small ones here for the 5th wheel, and then a small one on each side for each mirror. Other than that, now the body is ready to prep.